Today's video is going to be titled My Favorite Drummers. So keep in mind, it's not the best drummers, it's my favorite drummers. These drummers are the ones who influence me the most and the ones who I recognize first. I'm very aware of legends like Gene Krupa and modern greats like Tony Royster Jr. However, with that said, I'm going to get right into it, and I'm going to start off with Chris. Like Ringo Starr, he wasn't known as an incredible drummer or, an amazing drummer, but he had that kind of like jazzy swing feel similar to what Ringo Starr had. Lanier playing, jazz feel. He had that kind of like jazzy swing feel and like Lanier playing like Ringo Starr did. Not so much as Ringo Starr, but more of a jazz kind of drummer, jazz and swing kind of thing. So Peter Criss was good, better than what people give him credit for, but of course I know there's a bunch of other drummers out there that are better than him. And I think what Gene said, he was great when he was great during the 70s, and he just seemed to slip away. So I'm putting Peter Criss on there because he definitely did influence a lot of drummers. Okay, so the next drummer is Anton Fig, and related to Peter Criss to the extent of he played on the Kiss album. He played on the Kiss album Unmasked, he played on Ace Frehley's solo album, so he was in relation with Kiss in some way. And I bought Unmasked back in 1990, a good 10 years after it came out. And when I was listening to one part. It's got the, I know I mentioned this before in my Kiss video that nobody ever watches, but there's talking drums on there, which is this drum that kind of has this like fading sound to it. And then of course there's a couple of fills on there, drum fills, where I'm like, hey, holy cow, Peter Criss has gotten better. I'm not knowing that it was actually Anton Fig that was on the album. So Anton Fig's playing is awesome. If you listen to Ace Frehley's first solo album, well, the very first one, 1978, and then the Frehley's Comet 1987 album, he is on those two. And then he's on Live Plus One. Next up is Robert Sweet, and a lot of people, laugh about Stryper and don't think that Stryper is a great band. But Robert Sweet was an incredible drummer, is an incredible drummer. And the song Calling On You, when he does that fill, pardon the pun, but like, Jesus Christ, it was just amazing. I think Robert Sweet is definitely underrated because of course the band, because of the band Stryper and everything. But don't let that fool you, because Stryper is definitely a heavy band. They're an awesome band. I know several atheists and several people who are not Christian who love Stryper. Stryper is a heavy band. I'll do a video on them someday. Stryper is a heavy rocking band, and they're good musicians. Going back to the Kiss camp or Kiss section of this, I'm even talking about Eric Carr. Eric Carr is definitely one of the best, most powerful drummers, an awesome drummer. Of course, better than Peter Criss. A lot of people know that. That's how they got him, and one of the reasons why they got him, the other reason why they wanted to keep him, wanted him as a drummer, because he had a great attitude. He was a good person. His drum sound was great. You see that little symbol? I'll put up a picture here. That little symbol is a chikara. So the chikara just means power. Chikara, and it means power, and that's what Eric Carr was. Never mind what Vinnie Vincent says. He didn't save Kiss, that dummy. It was Eric Carr's drumming style that pushed Kiss to be a heavier band. And Eric was in a great time for Kiss, depending on how you want to view Kiss. But Eric Carr was great, and he was just a very powerful drummer. I've always loved him. My next favorite drummer is Stefan Kaufmann. I'm not pronouncing his name right. Stefan Kaufmann, the drummer for Accept, who was with the band since the beginning up until he was even on Eat the Heat. And then for the reunion albums they did in like 93 and stuff, 93 to 96 when they did that early 90s reunion. He was on, I think, most of all those too. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's probably not on that last one. But he hasn't been in the band for like a long time, and he's just an awesome drummer. He's the drummer for Accept, and if you listen to any 80s Accept music, you'll hear it. He's definitely one of the, I want to say forefathers. He's definitely one of the, I don't want to say innovators, but if you listen to the song, Fast as a Shark, that double bass on there was the first time, from what others have told me, I didn't know at the time, the fastest double bass in '82. Between, 70 something, whatever, and between 82, there was nobody playing like double bass that rapidly and that fast. Stephen Kaufman was one of the first ones to do that. One of the first ones, if not probably the first one. From the 70s that has been playing ever since then, hasn't recently, but Alex Van Halen. Alex Van Halen was an awesome drummer, and he's just amazing. Of course, he's overshadowed, of course, by you-know-who. I don't even need to mention who overshadowed him. Two other people overshadowed him. But for people who were into Van Halen and liked drums and wanted to play drums, definitely took notice of Alex Van Halen. He was definitely one of the other awesome members of the band. He was an awesome drummer. I mean, the whole band had an awesome singer, awesome bass player, awesome guitarist, everything. So it just fit perfectly. So once again, I said this before when I talked about Van Halen. The 1984 album was kind of popish, but it was a very guitar riff oriented. And there's a lot of cool drum stuff on there. I mean, the beginning for Hot for Teacher, play that. So most of you know that anyways. That's just some wicked drums and a really cool wicked opening. Also something to check out and like listen to the drums really good is on the song 5150 off of the album with the same name. So there's just some really cool stuff about Alex Van Halen. There's a lot of cool songs, and most of you probably already know this. Alright, so next one is Randy Castillo. Randy Castillo was in Ozzy Osbourne's band. He played with Lita Ford, which I didn't know until years later. But he joined Ozzy Osbourne, I guess like in '85 at some point. He's on the Ultimate Sin album. What I like about it, he's on the Ultimate Sin album, he does the tour, and then of course he's on No Rest for the Wicked and then No More Tears. So what's cool about Randy Castillo, I mean career-wise, is that he got to play with Jakey Lee, and then got to jam with and then play with Zakk Wylde. So it was one of the very few drummers that got to play with like two of the different guitarists that that've been in and out of Ozzy's band. So we got to play with either one of them. And Randy Castillo's drumming on the Ultimate Sin is great and awesome. I really never took notice because I'm listening to the songs, I'm listening to the lyrics and the guitaring and the guitar solos and stuff. But just like another one of those albums, you can't really hear the bass too much, and you don't really hear any like insane bass lines or anything. But the drums I did like, but I really didn't take notice until a friend of mine, Jeff, who was also my drum teacher for a while, he said, "Oh, hey, check this out." He let me borrow it like in 1989 because I was playing drums. Well, I wanted to play drums in '87, but didn't get a drum set until 1988. I played drums a little bit myself. So my friend Jeff let me borrow the Randy Castillo drum instructional video on VHS tape, and I watched that and listened to it, and I loved it. And I loved the sample pieces that he gave in the songs, because I was like, hey, I never really noticed that. This is back in 1989. And I was like, wow, I really never noticed that. So it was really cool to hear just the drums playing by themselves, just like with those drum tracks that you guys check out, or if those of you who have checked them out, the isolated drum tracks, those are really cool to check out. I love those. Anyways, Randy Castillo, an awesome drummer, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, holy cow, he's better than I thought he was. He's an awesome drummer.
I'll play it. Okay, basically it's just...
Next on our list is Nico McBrain, who joined the band in 1982, and the whole just different style and I guess feel. Not as much as Bruce Dickinson did, but the band kept on improving, and Nico was a really great drummer. Ironically, also a Christian, just like Robert Sweet. But anyways, that's besides the point. The fact is that he's an awesome drummer, and most of his songs and most of the Iron Maiden songs just have really great drumming. You're in the drumming, you know, Nico McBrain. He's just one of those other drummers that fans know who he is. It's not like he's... Alright, so the last two drummers on my list I purposely saved for last because these are the names that came up all the time within my friends and the people that I knew that were either drummers, guitarists, or rockers, or metalheads, whatever you want to call them. They were into music. Tommy Lee. So Tommy Lee, I'm putting at the top of the list because Tommy Lee was one of those drummers that I saw the Lux at Kill and I was like, man, wow, I want to play drums. And then I saw the video for Wildside and it was like, man, I have to play drums. I really loved it. It was very influential on me. And Tommy Lee was an awesome drummer. What I loved about Tommy Lee was his energy. When he was behind the drum set, just like with any musician, when you see guitarists, bass players, or drummers that look like they're bored on stage and look like they're not having fun, it looks like mentally they're struggling. But every single time you've seen Tommy Lee in a music video, or even like live footage, I watch a lot of live footage and stuff. I mean, he's having a friggin' great time and he's awesome. So he was definitely one of the most influential drummer on me, to what made me say, man, I want to play drums and I have to play drums. I think Tommy Lee was great. Is great. He's still good. Definitely one of my favorite drummers. Okay, these aren't in any specific order, but the top of the list, which is, he's not the best drummer, and he's definitely not the best drummer in the world, that's for sure, especially not nowadays. But back in the day, we always heard the name Lars, dude, Lars, especially all the burnouts. It was like, Lars, dude, Lars. Okay, Lars Ulrich. Now, Lars Ulrich is awesome, and he's also just, you know, an amazing drummer. Metallica albums, the drumming on that is just amazing. I mean, he just comes up with these wicked patterns. He has wicked patterns, he plays fast, he plays with energy and, you know, spirit too. And like he's having fun and just going nuts behind the drums. I remember one time I had this picture. I'm going to put up another picture just like this. Okay, so it wasn't that exact picture, but it was the same show or something, because that picture looks very similar to the one I had. Anyways, it had the picture with Lawrence with this white tape around his fingers, and then there's blood coming out of it. He has his hand on his drum set, like it was ending the song, and he's leaning on his drum set to see the crowd a little bit more, and his fingers were bleeding. And I was just like, oh man, that's freaking awesome. And my friend's drum teacher there, Jeff, said, well, that's stupid. He doesn't know what the heck he's doing then. Your fingers aren't supposed to bleed. That was his take on it. So, to an extent, he was correct. I mean, your fingers aren't supposed to bleed, and if you know how to do it correctly and all that other stuff, your fingers won't bleed. However, what I took that as, when I saw that, it was like, wow, he's drumming with passion, he's drumming with emotion, and he's drumming his ass off. And he doesn't care if his fingers will bleed, because he's just out there rocking it and giving it a, you know, 100%, 110%. So that's why I admired that, and I thought that was awesome. The drums on all the Metallica albums are awesome. I took notice of the drums was, of course, on Injustice for All. Watch my review on Injustice for All. I talk about the drums, of course, in there. The drum patterns on that are just amazing. The speed and just the weird, cool drum patterns that he does. Drum fills and everything. It's insane. And, of course, Off-Ride Lightning, Fight Fire with Fire. Now, when I first heard this, I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably freaked out over like, hey, holy shit, that's awesome. There's the part when the guitars fade out, you know, when you're playing, you know, they hit that one chord note, and it's just the drums. You hit that little midsection. I'll play a piece of it right here. That part right there is just amazing because it just allows you to hear just a double bass. You know, the guitars fade out, and it's awesome because you hear the double bass wickedly within probably by that time in several songs, but you heard it with the guitar and there's just too much stuff going on. If you loved hearing that part for the first time, that break there in Fight Fire with Fire, that drum, that double bass drum pattern thing, you definitely know what I'm talking about. And you probably were also probably thinking the same thing too as me. Hey man, that's an awesome wicked part. That was back in 1988. So, that's it. And thanks for watching, and see you later. Kiko Taurus on drums, that's cool. And of course, Ricky Rocket. But you forgot to mention Ricky Rocket.